Welcome to Undercurrents of Romance, the show that celebrates every subgenre of romantic fiction. In each episode, I peel back the layers of your favorite love stories and chat with the talented authors who bring them to life. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. Now, let's dive in with today's guest. Hello, Romantics. I'm here with internationally best-selling author Alexis Daria to talk about her new romantic comedy, Along Came Amor. Welcome to the show, Alexis.
Thank you so much for having me, Tracy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wish I could roll my R's. I tried to roll my R's for more, but it was not a pretty sight, so I didn't even try it for the interview here. Well, I really love the vibrant colors that Avon chose for the cover. It sets it apart, I think, so well from some of the other illustrated covers that we see in romance now. Did you have a part in the cover process, or did was that completely your publisher?
I have a background in fine arts and computer design, so I have a lot of opinions about book covers.
Yeah.
And I sort of set that tone when I started this series with Avon, and they were very open to it, luckily. Um, so the first cover in the series was really sort of a collaboration of our visions, and also the artist, Bo Feng Lin, really just brought his unique style to it and created this beautiful artwork. And that sort of set the tone for the rest of the series. But uh, I love hot pink. I love
Yeah.
vibrant colors, and I like more detailed artwork. So I had this idea for them, sort of the sunset. They spent some time in Puerto Rico in the book. Um, and they gave me a few different uh, color mock-ups because I sort of went back and forth. I was like, I want it to be pink, and then a lot of books were coming out that were pink, and I was like, well, maybe I don't want it to be pink because I also want mine to look different.
Yeah.
And I just came back to it because that was my original vision for this book,
Yeah.
that sort of like hot pink magenta look. Although there was a purple option that was pretty great. Um,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think this was the way to go.
Yeah, it's very eye-catching. I would have loved the purple too because that's like my favorite color.
Good color.
But hot pink is great as well, you betcha. So I'll include an image on the book cover so I know that this is an audio only, so but the folks will be able to see it whenever they pull up the podcast or even on YouTube too as well. So why don't you get us started and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your writing journey, just whatever you'd like to share.
Sure. I have been reading romance for a long time, and I've been writing for a long time. It was just always something that I loved to do on the side, but it wasn't until my early 30s that I really took it seriously and wrote with the intention of actually finishing a manuscript and then trying to get published. Um, so I had this sort of long journey as an artist first, which I think really did help me with doing creative work.
Hmm.
Being an author, it's really running a creative business.
Yeah, you
Um,
bet.
and I think doing art sort of helped with a lot of the mindset stuff that comes with writing. Um,
Yeah.
and Yeah, I wanted to write the kind of books that I wished had existed when I was younger.
Hmm.
And I feel like I've done that. So right now the series is ending and I'm like, okay, what's next? Do I really want to do something different? And I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure what that is yet, but I have a lot of ideas that I've been playing around with.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, there's always a surplus of ideas, and sometimes it's the hardest part is picking out where to go next. Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So this is the third book, and it sounds like it's a trilogy. So
Yes.
as you said, the series is done, and the series is called, was it Primas of Power? Is that the series
Yes.
name? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. Great.
primas means cousins in
Okay.
Spanish. And um, it's just sort of like the name of their group chat. It's the
Yeah.
name of these three cousins. Um, it's what they call themselves, and a sort of an in joke. And it wasn't initially the name of the series, but that was what I was calling it, and it was what readers started calling it. So Avon put that on the the retailer in
Yeah.
the book.
Yeah. That's great. So why don't you, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about the book, and whether it can be read as a standalone, or if readers should start with book one, or can they start with book three? Just a little bit about it.
So while the series is about this trio of cousins, I think they could be read in any order and they can be standalones, although of course I would want people to read all three. But you can start with this one. Um, of course, with romance, it's not really a spoiler if you know that the previous couples got together because we know that
Yeah.
that's always what each book is aiming toward. Um, so in this book, you will see the couples from the other books. There is a wedding. For the couple from the first book, Jasmine and Ashton, but this book centers on Ava. She is the third prima, and she's been divorced, and she's the one who's kind of done what her family expected of her. She became a teacher. She basically married her first boyfriend, who she met in college, and has lived the life that was expected of her. And now she's sort of in this place of like, where has that gotten me?
Yeah.
Um, and but it's hard to just one day wake up and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what my family says. So for her, it really is this long journey. The book takes place, it starts, I think, in October of one year and then goes until I think August of the next year. So it's it's a long journey of her being able to say, this is what I want my life to look like now, and being able to make those changes and then actually voice them to the people around her. Um, so for the romance, she meets a man named Roman, and he owns a hotel chain. She's there for a teaching conference, and it starts as a one night stand, and she's like, "We're not going to do this again. This is not happening." But she gets his number. And months pass before she actually reaches out to him again. And they sort of start up this like slow relationship that starts off with the physical intimacy, but then the emotional intimacy really grows. And then just when she's starting to really get close to him, she finds out that he is the best man in her cousin's wedding. And for Ava, this is a real problem because her ex-husband was very involved with her family, and she was very involved with his. And she has sort of been traumatized by the experience of detangling their lives, untangling their lives. And she does not want to be involved with anyone who has any connection to her family. And now here is this man that she is developing feelings for,
Right.
against her best, against her judgment, against her better wishes. But and now he's in this wedding, and everybody in her family has met him. So, and he is like head over heels for her already by this point. He is not giving up easily. So, um, it really is then this story of her learning to open up and speak up to for herself.
Yeah. No, it's really a great story. I really enjoyed it. I want to emphasize that readers can start with book three because I did. I did not read book one and two, so book three, I didn't feel like I missed out on anything as part of that. And I really liked Roman. He's a great hero. And so I was hoping we could talk about him maybe just a little bit more. And I'm
Oh
very
yeah.
curious. I don't think I was trying to rack my brain if I had ever read a hero that was a wealthy hotelier before, and I could not recall ever reading one of a hero like that before. And he's just so magnetic right off the bat as soon as you meet him. And I'm very curious, besides your imagination, where did he come from? And I don't know, did the idea of making your hero a hotelier, did that come first maybe? Or was it the scene? Did you envision the scene with Ava sitting at the bar and then you kind of built a story around it, or was it just something completely different?
Yes, it was. I think he owns hotels because he needed a reason to be in the hotel and not
Yeah.
to be a bartender. Although he used
Yeah.
to be a bartender.
Yeah, he did
You know,
a
that's
great
part of
job.
his journey, because
Hmm.
he started off with very humble beginnings. Um, Roman Roman came about because so he was actually the third hero that I had paired Ava with. I was originally working on like giving her a younger man who would worship the ground that she walked on, and it just wasn't working. And then I even wrote a few chapters where she reunited with her ex-husband. And I actually would read that book. I go back and read those chapters, and I'm like, I want to know what happens next, but I didn't want to write it.
Yeah.
Um, so I thought, what do I want for her? I want her to have this fairy tale romance, but what does that mean? And what what does a guy, what does a romance hero who is like Prince Charming, what does that actually mean?
Hmm.
Um, where he is still going to have a POV, he still has to have his own arc, but for Ava, it had to be that he never gives up on her. And he has to really be the adult in this situation and not let his ego get in the way. And he has his moments, certainly, but what's the fairy tale aspect of that? That they're able to
Hmm.
talk it out and that he doesn't get, bent out of shape or, pull
Yeah.
back from her. Because Ava's the kind of character that if he ever pulled back, it would have been over. The story would be done. She
Yeah.
would not
Yeah.
chase him down. So he had to be that constant. And it's kind of hard to write that and maintain the level of conflict and tension that you need to sustain a whole book.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work, but Roman really is he's that Prince Charming. He's the perfect man, right? What's his flaw? He cares too much. He's too
Yeah.
rich.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
He even loves having his mama and his sister living with him. So
yeah,
it's
he
just,
loves his
it's great.
family.
Yeah.
His thing is just that he works so hard. So that really gave me a place to dig into um his his character arc. Like, why does he
Yeah.
work so hard? Why is it so important to him that he generate wealth? And then looking back
Hmm.
into where he came from, what his childhood was like, and how that's getting in the way of him being in love now, and what he has to do about that. But that all kind of came out in revisions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's great. You touched on this a little bit in your previous answer, and it was one of the things I wanted to talk about. It's like one of the blessings of doing this podcast is the wide range of books that come across my desk and that I get to read and talk with authors about their books. And all within the past month, I've learned more about Ghanaian culture. I've learned about Chinese, Indonesian culture, Hawaiian culture, and now Latinx or Latine culture. So tell us more about why Ava was reluctant to get into this relationship, or maybe the pressures that she was feeling from her family, and why that was affecting her relationship with Roman.
Well, for Ava, the problem wasn't that she thought her family was going to disapprove
Mhm.
of him. It was actually the opposite, that they were going to get so invested. And Ava was so sure that this relationship was going to end because in her mind, they always do, and it
Mhm.
doesn't just come from her divorce, but also her family and her childhood and growing up and her parents' divorce and how that affected her, that she just is so sure that it's going to end. And she doesn't think she can face her family's response when this relationship ends. And she's trying to save herself from that pain. But as a result, she's blocking herself from happiness.
Mhm.
So the family dynamics are really sort of the thing that she needs to work on a lot in this book.
Yeah, yeah, because she had a difficult time about that. You were talking about, untangling from the two families, and it was almost with, well, I don't know if these are spoilers, maybe I shouldn't say, but so you're talking
You
about,
want to talk about her
why.
grandmother?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was all that the divorce and how all that rolled out, and kind of what they wanted her to do to try and rectify it and everything. And so, I could feel it. As I was reading through there, I could feel that pressure build up, and it's like, why why do I have to do, why are you expecting me to do this when he did that, kind of thing. So, like I say, I'm trying to be careful about what I say because I don't know how much to reveal. But yeah, so anyway, I thought I loved, I guess my whole point was I really love learning more about cultures and those family dynamics and how complicated and messy and beautiful that they can be.
Yes, Ava's really, she's that person who really loves her family.
Yeah,
Um, but she also is constantly giving to them and so ends up being taken advantage of. And for her, she really uh, is afraid of losing the love of her family, but also feels like it needs to be earned and that it's
yeah.
conditional. So she's really afraid of upsetting them. And when she and her ex-husband split up, it really was sort of devastating for her, not only to lose her relationship, but the way that her family
Mhm.
responded, and in particular her grandmother. And because she had lived with her grandparents when she was younger, and her grandmother really is a force to be reckoned with, um, she's very sensitive to um, upsetting that
Yeah,
dynamic.
yeah.
Um, and so she's in this place throughout the book where she feels like she's trying to get back in their good graces, um, and does not want to be put in that position again.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things that I like to dive into on this show is finding the story's undercurrent with the author. It's that second beating heart of the story that it tends to flow beneath, like the lover's journey and even helps propel the story forward. What undercurrent do you think is flowing beneath Ava and Roman's story, if you could pin? Sometimes there's multiple undercurrents.
Definitely Ava. I feel like we could like run down a list like fear of abandonment, unhealthy
Yeah.
boundaries, with familial expectations, um, feeling unworthy of love. Um, I almost feel like, and I didn't realize this until after the book was done, but it almost feels like I was trying to fit sort of a women's fiction
Mm,
plot and
mm,
arc into a romance novel. Um,
yeah.
which I think is why I struggled with writing some parts of it because um in a romance you want to keep the focus on the couple or group or whatever you have, um the love interests, but toward the end I had like chapters of her having cathartic moments with various members of her family, and I was just losing the thread, and I just kept writing and writing and writing, and I was like, this is not working, what do I have to do? So I had to keep going back and saying, okay, this is the moment where everything happens. All of these moments have to be condensed into this one scene because I have to keep the romance on track. So I think personally, I would have liked to dig into those moments more. I'm trying not to give spoilers either, but
Yeah.
the book would have been 600 pages. And it's already almost 500 pages.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
thick one. Yeah, yeah.
so really I really struggled with just keeping the focus on the romance, but the undercurrents are Ava's relationship with her family, Ava's
Mhm.
relationship with her cousins, with her grandmother, with her mother, um, her father, sort of like all of the closest people in her life, who she's also holding at arm's length because
Mhm.
she's so afraid of being a burden. She's so afraid of being seen um, as not weak, but she's so afraid to be seen.
Yeah.
It's really what it is. And through
Yeah.
the romance, she learns how to do that and then is able to extend that into other parts of her life.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, I like that. So, kind of switching gears here just a little bit, what are two or three tropes readers can look forward to while reading this story?
Well, we have a secret romance. There is definitely some sneaking around. Um, and that's sort of a theme of this series. Uh, and they are also, well, I mean, the best man, maid of honor
Yeah.
pairing is also a trope for a reason because it gives you that nice forced proximity,
Yeah.
where they also have a project to work on together. And in this case, that sends them to Puerto Rico on a trip. And so we get some nice forced proximity there. We get some destination, wedding, like sort of like all the tropes that go along with
Yeah.
a story that takes place during a wedding.
Yeah.
Get all of that too.
Yeah. No, that's great.
So it's
That's
like a
great.
nice getaway.
It is. Yeah, no, you packed them in. It was wonderful. You got one night stand in there as well. So
Oh yeah.
some great ones. Some great ones. All right. Do you have a romance book that you've read recently that you would recommend and maybe why?
Well, I would definitely recommend A Tropical Rebel Gets the Duke by
Okay.
Adriana Herrera. It is a historical romance. It came out, I believe, in February. And it's the third in Adriana's Las Leonas series, which takes place they all start in Paris and then take place in Europe in the late 1800s, like the
Uh,
1890s, I believe. Um, and in this particular book, the heroine works for an underground women's clinic, providing healthcare and reproductive health services to women. And the hero is a duke who, he kind of starts off like, I'm I've claimed the title of Duke, and I'm from the Caribbean, and like nobody's seen a Duke like me, and I'm gonna like kind of put in their faces and like find the perfect Duchess, which she is not. Um, and it ends up with him helping her help women. Um, and there is like real danger for them at that time, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
parallels to things that are happening in the world now. Um, but also it's fun and sexy and everything we love from historical romances. So I would definitely recommend that one.
Okay, no, that sounds amazing. My roots are in historical romance, so I always love getting recommendations that I can dive into. That's great. Thank you. So before we go, can you give us a hint of maybe what's up next? I know you said you're kind of toying around with some ideas and things like that. Maybe even just other projects that you're working on or excited about.
Well, I have a couple more releases this year. I am re-releasing the second book in my dance off series. It's called Dance with Me. It went out of print, I don't know, some years ago. And I'm actually expanding it now with I had a lot of like backstory scenes that I'd written at the time that weren't in the book. And then
Yeah.
I was trying to edit it and just sort of include that information. And I was like, why don't I put all these scenes in the book? Why aren't they
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
So I'm expanding it and doing that, and that'll come out in September. And then in October, I have a holiday novella called The Holiday Hookup List. Uh, that is takes place during Christmas in New York City. It is very sexy, and also a little silly, which is kind of, you know, silly, sexy, and emotional is like kind of what you can expect from all of my books.
I
And I think
love
it's a
it.
really fun one. So I hope that
All
people
right,
enjoy it.
great. All right, great. It's nice to have multiple releases in one year. That's always nice. So, folks, when this episode airs, Along Came Amor will be out, so be sure to order your copy today. You can check out Alexis's why can't I say that? Alexis' website at alexisdaria.com. What social media outlet are you most active on, Alexis?
At the moment, it is Instagram at Alexis Daria. Although I am trying to uh, move away from social media platforms that we don't have as much control over and trying
Mm,
to do more with my newsletter.
okay.
So I would definitely recommend signing up for that. I send one about
Okay.
once a month, um, writing updates, but also a look at like what I'm reading and watching is kind of most of what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Broadway
Okay.
shows, TV shows, books, that kind of thing.
And they can just access that through your website. There's a sign up, probably a little
Yes,
drop down or something. Okay.
alexisdaria.com.
Okay, great. All right. Well, Alexis, thank you so much for joining me. It was great pleasure chatting with you. I really loved this book. It was so much fun. Again, Roman. That's all I'll say about Roman. He was wonderful.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. I hope we'll see you again on the show in the future once you get your next project underway. That'll be great to see you again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all the lovely questions.
Oh yeah, you betcha. No problem. Many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Undercurrents of Romance. You can find more information about the show at tracydevlyn.com/podcast. Undercurrents of Romance is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'll be back soon with another great romantic read. In the meantime, enjoy the adventure, everyone.